Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1954 AN. Today's date is August 27th, 2019, and the title of the episode is The Central Bank is Doomed. They just showed their true colors. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about gold. If you've been watching the news lately, you'll have seen the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 launch. Those Saturn V rockets moved, and if you plotted their trajectory on a chart, it might look something like this. Except this isn't an Apollo launch. This is the price of gold since June. Noble Gold has been predicting the gold takeoff since last year. Call Noble Gold at 877-646-5347 and make sure to mention X22 Report to see if there are any promotions they're running for gold IRA rollovers. Call 877-646-5347 or hit the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, what's very interesting is that Trump, the Patriots, they continually push the central bank, the deep state, the mainstream media back into the corner. And when they do this, what happens? They show their true colors. They show their hand. And we're seeing this happen right now. Trump started out contradicting the Fed. Trump has been bashing the Fed. Trump has been telling everyone the Fed has no idea what they're doing. Now, of course, on the other hand, what do we have? We have the deep state, the mainstream media, the central banks saying, listen, what Trump is doing with the trade wars and tariffs, that's going to bring down the global economic system. Now, of course, they have to say this. Why? Because they know that their system, remember, this is their system. They created it. They created this gigantic illusion and put almost every single country into debt, people into debt. And with the debt load getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and less tax receipts coming in, interest, well, it can't rise, it has to fall because no one would be able to pay for this debt. It's their system that is collapsing. But of course, they don't want anyone to know this. They want everyone to believe that their system is fantastic, and it's Trump and the Patriots. They're the ones who are causing this. Now, of course, we know that this is not true. We know that it's the Fed. We know that the Fed is trapped right now. We know that central bankers are trapped around the world. How did they get trapped? Well, they never thought Trump was going to win. They never thought she was going to lose. And they don't have their event. Their plans went down the tubes. And guess what? They're backed into a corner. They don't know what to do. And like I said before, every time they're backed into a corner, guess what? They reveal their true colors, their plan, and what they're going to do. They're completely exposed right now. We're going to be discussing that a little bit later. But first, let's head out to the UK because Jeremy Corbyn, right now, he wants to cancel the referendum. Now, Boris Johnson is out there and saying, absolutely not. We are not doing anything like that. Actually, he tweeted out like Trump tweets out. He said the following: Jeremy Corbyn wants to cancel the referendum and argue about Brexit for years. I'm committed to leading our country forward and getting Britain out of the EU by October 31st. And we know there are certain individuals within the EU who've come out and said, listen, we are not going to let this happen no matter what. Again, they're backed into a corner now. They don't have that person that they needed before. It was Theresa May. She wasn't really negotiating a Brexit. She was negotiating a deal that would keep the UK in the EU, making everyone believe they left. Now we have someone in the UK who's actually going to leave, and they can't control him. He doesn't want a deal with the EU because he knows that any deal that he strikes with them would be not good for the UK. The people would suffer. The EU would benefit, and there's no reason to have a deal. The deal is being made with the United States, with Trump and the Patriots. And that deal is a lot better. And there's going to be many other countries that are going to be making a deal with the UK. And these are going to be free trade deals, bilateral free trade deals, and it's going to go outside of the EU. And other countries are going to see this, and they're going to join in too. they're going to say, we want to do what the UK is doing. We want to leave just like they have done. And we want to make deals because, look, they're doing a lot better. And this is going to spread over time. Now, what's very interesting, we know that Trump, he wants to make a deal with China. Now, at this point, Trump, Xi, they are out there, and Trump is using this period of time to push countries out of China. Now, yes, this is all part of the plan. Remember, the globalists, the central bank, the mainstream media, the deep state, they push all companies out, not every single one, but a lot of the companies out of the United States into China and many other countries. This was done on purpose. Trump now is reversing all of this. Now, remember, the globalists, the deep state, the central banks, they had many years to do this. Trump does not. So he has to accelerate the process. How do you do that? Do you beg companies to come back and hopefully they come back? No. You have to use leverage. You have to use tariffs. You have to look for laws that allows the companies or force the companies to come back to the United States. And this is why Trump mentioned Jimmy Carter's 1970 law, which gives Trump sweeping powers to block China trade. Now, the law, we discussed this before, is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And this was signed by Jimmy Carter. And it gives the president sweeping powers to restrict trade once a national emergency is declared. Now, the IEEPA was preceded by the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, which gave the president broad powers to restrict trade in times of war. The 1977 law gave the executive branch similar powers in peacetime. The president still has to declare an emergency to activate the authority. Now, the law states that the president may nullify, void, prevent, or prohibit any acquisition, holding, withholding, use, transfer, withdrawal, transportation, importation, or exportation of any property in which any foreign country or a national thereof has any interest. A 1981 Supreme Court decision, Dames and Moore v. Reagan, affirmed that the White House had broad powers under the law. Now, Congress passed the National Emergency Act in 1976 in the wake of the Watergate crisis to limit the executive branch's power to declare an emergency outside wartime. The following year, Congress amended that law by passing the IEEPA to clarify that peacetime economic sanctions could be enacted by the president, but could also be overridden by an act of Congress. However, the Supreme Court ruled in 1983 that Congress could not override trade sanctions. Now, Trump mentioned this because he wants everyone to understand, if I had to, I would use this to bring the corporations back to the United States. Now, why in the world would he mention this? Do I think he's going to use it right now? Not right now, no. If he had to, he knows he has this in his back pocket. He knows that the central bank system is collapsing. He knows he needs to bring these corporations back. He knows that he has a certain period of time to do this. He doesn't have 20 years. He only has a small window. And right now, he's doing everything he possibly can to bring companies back and to create this new economy, which is running parallel to the central bank economy. And if it doesn't work the way he wants it to work, he will then go to Jimmy Carter's 1977 law and say, listen, all these companies, you need to come back to the United States. And I just shut it all down. And guess what? The companies will have to come back. And he mentioned this to let everyone know and to understand what might happen if he has to do this. Think about what he's doing now. He's creating a new system for the people. Who's trying to stop him? Well, we know it's the deep state, the mainstream media, and especially the central bank. Now, we know the central bankers are out there and they're saying that Trump's trade war is the single biggest threat to the economy. No, it's your debt. It's your system that's the biggest threat to the entire world. Not these trade wars. The trade wars are a threat to their system, not to the real economic system if it was run by the people. The threat is to what they have. Now, what's very interesting is that the former New York Fed President Bill Dudley called on the Federal Reserve to manipulate the economy to stymie Trump's re-election. And he made the plea in an op-ed published by Bloomberg News. Dudley argued that Trump's effort to reset trade with China is hurting the economy and that the Fed should enact policies that hinder Trump and hurt his re-election chances. Think about what Dudley just said. He's letting everyone know that this is the true agenda of the central bank. It's to keep control. And if someone's trying to take control away, guess what? We need to do whatever we possibly can to stop that individual. Now, should the Fed be getting involved with Trump's re-election? Absolutely not. This is why Trump is getting rid of the central bank. The central bank, when they're pushed back into a corner and they realize they're going to be losing control and they will no longer have control over nations, over governments, they show their hand. Just like the EU said, listen, we're not letting the UK leave the BREXIT. We're going to do everything we possibly can to keep them in the EU. They just showed their hand. They realize once this happens, once the central bank is completely exposed, it's game over for them. Trump tweeted out the following: "The Federal Reserve loves watching our manufacturers struggle with their exports to the benefit of other parts of the world. Has anyone looked at what almost all other countries are doing to take advantage of the good old USA? Our Fed has been calling it wrong for too long." Why is Trump saying this? Why is Trump continually telling everyone that the Fed has been calling it wrong for too long? He's letting everyone know that the Fed, everything that they've been doing, is not in the best interest for this country. And he's letting people know that Fed doesn't support the United States, doesn't support the people, doesn't want the United States to do well economically, doesn't want any country to do well economically for that matter, because they want control. Time is ticking down. Their true colors have just been exposed. Their plan has been exposed. Their agenda has been exposed. And it's a matter of time where Trump and the Patriots will be taking down this entire central bank system. And it's coming. And you can see already, Trump holds the card in his back pocket. Jimmy Carter's 1977 law. Because he can bring the companies back, completely change the trade deals, and say, you know something? We don't need the central bank anymore. Let's push the audit through. Let's look at what they've been doing. Let's expose them for what they really are. And if the United States, or I should say when the United States does this, what do you think is going to happen out in Europe? What do you think is going to happen in the rest of the world? And if you noticed, gold and silver, they're slowly creeping up. Remember when gold was at 1,100? What is it at now? 1,540 or plus? What about silver? Remember when that was down like $12, $13, $14? Where's it today? Like 18? It's slowly moving up. Now, they don't want it to move up too quickly because then people will catch on to what's going on. And actually, as gold rises and as silver rises, have you seen any paper contracts thrown at it to bring the price back down? Has the manipulation finally ended? It's starting to look that way. The Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.